3:47 hours local time. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower sits 112 nautical miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz, engines turning at 8 knots, flight deck crews loading joint standoff weapons onto F/A-18E Super Hornets. 14 hours earlier, 3 commercial tankers were struck by Iranian anti-ship missiles in the narrowest section of the strait. Global oil prices surged 41% in a single trading session. The National Command Authority has issued a single directive: reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The carrier strike group has 11 surface combatants, 2 attack submarines, and enough Tomahawk cruise missiles to flatten a small country. And none of it is enough, because 21 miles of water separate the Arabian Peninsula from Iran. And in those 21 miles, the most powerful navy in human history faces a problem that firepower alone cannot solve. This should not require ground forces, but it does. And the reason is geometry. To understand why a 93,000-ton nuclear aircraft carrier cannot force open a strait without Marines wading onto hostile shores, you must first understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is, not as a line on a map, but as a physical space governed by distances, angles, and the hard constraints of physics. The strait is approximately 100 miles long from its western entrance in the Persian Gulf to its eastern exit into the Gulf of Oman. At its narrowest point, the navigable channel compresses to roughly 2 miles in each direction, separated by a 2-mile median. Commercial vessels, tankers carrying 17 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 21% of global petroleum consumption, must transit single file through these lanes. They move at 12 to 15 knots. They cannot maneuver. They cannot accelerate. They are, for the 45 minutes it takes to clear the strait, functionally stationary targets. Iran controls the entire northern coastline. More critically, Iran controls 3 islands sitting directly inside the strait itself: Abu Musa, Greater Tunb, and Lesser Tunb. These islands are not symbolic. They are fortified military positions with direct line of sight to every ship that passes. Iran has placed Noor anti-ship cruise missiles on these islands. It has placed Qatar coastal defense systems in hardened shelters along the mainland shore. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates from dispersed bases along the coast with over 1,500 fast attack craft, fiberglass boats carrying torpedoes and missiles designed to swarm in groups of 40 or more. Beneath the surface, Iran has 3 Russian-built Kilo-class submarines and an unknown number of midget submarines capable of laying mines in water as shallow as 15 meters. And it has mines, thousands of them. Contact mines, influence mines, bottom mines triggered by magnetic signature or acoustic pressure. Some are sophisticated, many are crude, modified versions of designs from the 1940s. It does not matter. A single mine costs approximately $10,000. The ship it sinks costs $2 billion. The carrier strike group cannot enter the strait. The water is too shallow for optimal submarine operations, too narrow for carrier flight operations, and too confined for the escort screen to establish effective defensive geometry. The strike group must operate from outside, launching sorties from the Gulf of Oman. But here's the problem. An F/A-18 launching from 100 miles away has a flight time of roughly 12 minutes to target. An Iranian Noor missile launched from Abu Musa Island has a flight time of 90 seconds to the shipping lane. The math does not work. Tree power can destroy missile launchers, but only after they fire. The first salvo gets through. And in a strait this narrow, the first salvo is enough to block 21% of the world's oil supply with burning hulks of steel. This is where the Marine Expeditionary Unit enters the equation, not as a blunt instrument, but as the missing variable in an otherwise unsolvable problem. A Marine Expeditionary Unit deploys aboard 3 amphibious ships, typically a Wasp-class or America-class amphibious assault ship, a San Antonio-class transport dock, and a Harper's Ferry-class dock landing ship. Together, these vessels carry approximately 2,200 Marines, their armor, their artillery, their helicopters, and their landing craft. The MEU is not a full division. It is not designed for large-scale land warfare. It is designed for exactly this: seizing small fortified positions in contested littoral environments where naval firepower alone cannot eliminate the threat. The operational concept is straightforward in principle and brutally complex in execution. The islands must be taken, not suppressed, not interdicted, physically occupied. Because a missile launcher that has been destroyed by a Tomahawk can be replaced in 72 hours by a truck driving out of a tunnel. But a missile launcher, position that is occupied by a Marine rifle platoon with Javelin missiles and a forward air controller calling in close air support, that position stays silent permanently. The MEU carries MV-22 Ospreys, capable of inserting a reinforced platoon onto a contested island in a single lift, arriving at 275 knots from over the horizon. It carries CH-53E Super Stallions that can sling-load a howitzer onto a hilltop in a single pass. It carries AH-1Z Vipers, attack helicopters specifically designed for the anti-surface warfare mission, carrying Hellfire missiles that can destroy fast attack craft at 8 kilometers. And critically, it carries landing craft air cushion hovercraft that can put armored vehicles ashore on a beach at 40 knots, regardless of tide, reef, or surf conditions. No other force structure in the American military can do all of this, simultaneously from the sea, with no forward base, no allied airfield, and no pre-positioned equipment. The MEU is self-contained. It carries its own fuel, its own ammunition, its own surgical teams, its own communications architecture. It can operate for 15 days without resupply, and it exists precisely because the Navy learned, across a century of conflict, that there are problems at sea that can only be solved on land. But taking the islands does not reopen the strait, because beneath the surface, the mines remain. And this is where the problem escalates beyond what most analysts account for. Iran's mining capability is not theoretical. In 1988, the frigate USS Samuel B. Roberts struck an Iranian M08 contact mine in the Persian Gulf and nearly broke in half. The mine cost Iran approximately $1,500. The repair cost the United States $96 million. Iran studied that ratio carefully. In the decades since, it has stockpiled an estimated 5,000 to 6,000 naval mines of various types. During a closure scenario, Iran's plan, documented in open-source IRGC doctrine, is to deploy mines at night using civilian dhows, commercial fishing vessels, and fast attack craft, making them nearly impossible to distinguish from normal maritime traffic until the mines are already in the water. A single mine in the shipping channel does not just threaten one ship. It closes the channel. International maritime law and commercial shipping insurance protocols require that any confirmed mine sighting shuts down the lane until it is certified. Clear. Clearing a mine takes hours. Certifying a channel takes days. Iran does not need to sink a carrier. It needs to place 60 mines in the right locations, and the global economy begins to fracture. Mine countermeasure vessels, the Avenger class ships, are the Navy's primary tools for this mission. But there are only 8 of them in active service. They are slow, moving at 13 knots maximum, and their wooden-hulled, low magnetic signature designs make them unsuitable for self-defense in a contested environment. They need protection. They need time. And they need the shores on both sides of the channel to be free of observers who can report their positions to fast attack craft and coastal missile batteries. This is the second reason the Marines are indispensable, not just for seizing islands, but for establishing what the Marine Corps calls Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations. Small, temporary positions on islands and coastal terrain that provide sensor coverage, air defense, and fire support to protect the mine clearance force operating below. A Marine anti-ship missile team on Abu Musa Island with a naval strike missile battery does not just deny that island to Iran. It creates a protective umbrella over the minesweepers working. The channel 3 miles to the south. The geometry reverses. The island that was Iran's sword becomes the Navy's shield. Now consider the full kill chain as it would unfold across 72 hours of continuous operations. Hour 0. The carrier strike group launches a coordinated Tomahawk strike from Arleigh, Burke-class destroyers positioned in the Gulf of Oman. 147 cruise missiles arc northwest, targeting known coastal defense battery positions, IRGC naval base infrastructure, and command and control nodes along Iran's southern coast. Simultaneously, an EA-18G Growler squadron begins electronic attack operations, jamming Iranian surveillance radars and severing communication links between Tehran and forward missile units. The objective is not destruction, it is disorientation. 30 minutes of chaos in which the enemy cannot confirm what is being hit and what is still operational. Hour 1. Under cover of the electronic attack and Tomahawk suppression, the MEU launches its assault. 2 companies of Marines, roughly 400 personnel, deploy via MV-22 Osprey from the amphibious assault ship, which has closed to within 60 nautical miles of Abu Musa Island under the cover of darkness and active electronic warfare. The Ospreys fly at 200 feet above the water, below Iranian radar coverage, arriving over the island in 14 minutes. The first wave fast ropes onto the island's northern high ground. AH-1Z Vipers provide close air support, engaging any vehicle movement or defensive position that activates. The island's garrison, estimated at 300 to 500 personnel with light armored vehicles and missile transporters, faces a simultaneous assault from the air while Navy surface combatants engage any fast attack craft attempting to reinforce from the mainland. Hour 3. Abu Musa is secured. Marine combat engineers begin clearing and improving a helicopter landing zone. An AN/TPS-80 G8 radar system is airlifted in by CH-53, giving the Marines organic air surveillance capability over the central strait. A naval strike missile battery follows within the hour. The island has switched from an Iranian offensive platform to an American defensive node in under 200 minutes. Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb face simultaneous or near-simultaneous assaults by the remaining MEU elements. Hour 6. With the island secured and coastal batteries suppressed, mine countermeasure operations begin. MH-53E Sea Dragon helicopters, the Navy's airborne mine countermeasure platform, begin towing AN/AQS-24 mine-hunting sonar sleds through the shipping channels. Below them, unmanned underwater vehicles from the Avenger-class MCM ships begin bottom-mapping operations, identifying mine-like contacts for classification and neutralization. Each confirmed mine is destroyed by either explosive ordnance disposal, diverse or remotely operated neutralization charges. This process is methodical. It cannot be rushed. It will take 36 to 48 hours to clear the primary shipping lanes to a confidence level that allows commercial traffic to resume. If you understand how engineering shapes modern warfare, type "proud" in the comments. Hour 12 through 48. The Marines hold the islands. The minesweepers clear the channels. The carrier air wing maintains a continuous combat air patrol, cycling Super Hornets in 4-hour shifts, engaging any Iranian fast attack craft that sorties from dispersed coastal harbors. The Arleigh Burke destroyers provide ballistic missile defense against any Iranian medium-range ballistic missile launch targeting the amphibious force. The attack submarines patrol the eastern mouth of the strait, ensuring no Kilo-class submarine can enter the operational area submerged. Every component of this system depends on every other component. Remove the Marines and the islands remain hostile. The minesweepers are exposed and the channel stays closed. Remove the carrier, and the Marines on the islands face air attack. Without overhead cover. Remove the submarines, and the surface fleet faces a torpedo threat it cannot manage in confined waters. The system is integrated. No single element is sufficient. No single element is expendable. Hour 72. The primary shipping lanes are certified clear of mines to a 97% confidence interval. The first escorted convoy, 4 tankers flanked by 2 guided missile frigates, transits the strait at 8 knots. Marine positions on Abu Musa and the Tunb Islands provide continuous overwatch. Coastal defense batteries along the Iranian mainland have been reduced to 41% operational capacity. IRGC fast attack craft losses exceed 60% of forward deployed assets. The strait is open. Not because it was forced open by overwhelming firepower from the sea, but because a 2,200-person Marine Expeditionary Unit did what a $100 billion carrier strike group could not do alone. It changed the geometry of the battle space by placing human beings with weapons on small pieces of rock in the middle of the ocean. The outcome was not decided by the number of missiles launched or the tonnage of steel deployed. It was decided by the recognition that maritime choke points are not naval problems. They are joint problems. The water cannot be controlled without controlling the land that borders it. The shipping lane cannot be protected without occupying the terrain that overlooks it. The mines cannot be cleared without securing the shores that observe the clearing force. The United States Navy is the most powerful maritime force ever assembled. It can project power across 12,000 miles of open ocean. It can destroy any fleet, suppress any coastline, and control any sea lane on the planet in open water. But the Strait of Hormuz is not open water. It is a corridor. A corridor flanked by mountains, islands, and a nation that has spent 40 years engineering its defenses around a single strategic premise, that the corridor can be closed faster than it can be opened. The Marines exist to disprove that premise, not with superior firepower, not with technological overmatch, but with the oldest principle in military strategy, that the force which controls the terrain controls the outcome. This was never about who had more missiles. It was about who understood the geometry.